management is, I think I will need to do that, because although the title said the joys of account management, it's going to be pointless for me to talk to you all immediately about the joys of account management until and unless you all know how an agency works. Okay, so I'll spend a little bit of time explaining how an agency works, and then I'll go specifically into account management. All right? So for me, as Janet said, my name is Michelle. I have been doing advertising for 22 years. I started my first year as a writer in a local agency. And I swear to you, if I started in an international agency and had the right people teaching me, I probably would have stayed a writer. Okay, but because I was in a local agency and I didn't know how an agency worked, and nobody actually taught me, you know, that there are different departments and blah, blah, blah. So 1 year later, my creative director looked at me and said, "You are such a control freak, you should go to client servicing." So I was like, "Ooh, what's that?" And so I moved. So I was a writer, and then I moved to, and I'm going to talk about terminology in a way, and then I moved and joined client servicing. And I've been in it ever since. So I haven't swayed. It's something that I love. I love advertising. Don't ask me why. I'm sure I'll be very colorful in my language. But yeah, so that's a little bit about me. So in terms of BBDO, I've been in BBDO for 9 years. When I started with BBDO, I was already a group account director. So group account director, client services director, general manager, managing director. Okay, so you work hard, you enjoy what you do, all of y'all can do that, okay? So it's not a big deal. So that's a little bit about me. Now, in terms of an agency and how it works, when I can, I speak to the interns. And what I realized very, very quickly is that most who come from Lim Kok Wing, from Utah, from One Academy, so they're all from communication schools, none of them know what an agency is. None of them know the departments in an agency. None of them know career path. So it's like, yeah, I'm studying advertising. I'm like, why? Do you know how an agency works? Do you know where your career can go? They look at me like, what career? I'm like, serious. They're like blank, right? They're like, what? Don't know. So like I said, when I have time, I sit with people and explain how it works. Okay, so let me just clear up terminology. We've heard so many different versions of what account management is called. Back in the good old days, and how many of y'all watch Mad Men? Mad Men? Except for John Teo. Okay. We were referred to as client servicing. Okay. I hate that word because I'm not servicing any client. Okay. I am there to help lead and manage a piece of business. I don't service the clients. So terminology back in the day was client servicing. Today, more and more, it's known as account management. Of course, you hear account servicing, you hear client management. There's so many different versions of it, okay? So for the purpose of today, we'll just stick to account management, all right? And the other thing I'm going to clear up is account here means a piece of business. You know, I say that and I laugh because when I tell people what I do, when I was growing up and telling people what I do, it's like, oh, I'm an account manager. Oh, you do accounting? No, lor. You know, but because of the word account, everybody associates it to numbers. Okay, so it's not. In advertising, an account means a piece of business. All right, so account management means you are managing a piece of business. All right, so account management, and I am going to laugh again. You don't get to the joys of account management, okay? And I know that's what the title was today, like the joys of account management. There are definite payoffs, there are definite rewards, but there is no such thing as you walk into an agency and you can hear the angels singing and you're feeling joyous. Doesn't work that way, okay? The joys of account management actually comes after you've invested the blood, sweat, and tears. Account management is actually the nervous system of an ad agency, okay? Without account management, creative can't do their job. Without account management, the clients will never get anything done, because try speaking to a creative person the way somebody would speak to an account management person, and it's like lost in translation. Okay, they're not going to get it, right? So if I had to put it very crudely, I will tell you now, account management is the nervous, it's the nervous system of the agency. You got to be extremely diligent, especially as you are growing up in account management. You have to be diligent, because if you don't learn the foundation, then what sort of a senior account management person are you going to be later? Foundation is very important. So let's talk about the different roles in account management. I'll do the traditional ones, okay? Not all agencies need this. Okay, so account management. Okay, traditional, traditional. Doesn't mean that you all have to go through this, all right? I'm not going to put interns on this. Internship is more of a learning experience. You all decide whether you like the place, don't like the place, like the job, don't like the job, okay? But when you enter an agency, traditionally, AE, SAE, AM, SAM, AAD, AD, sometimes got SAD, and then got GAD. Oh, apparently, okay, SGAD. This is nice, like it sounds like God. Quite interesting. SGAD, and then usually after that, CSD first, then GM, MD, CEO. Okay, sometimes these are the same, sometimes these are the same, so whatever. Okay. AE is account executive. All right, so that's your entry level into account management. As an AE, quite honestly, you are a coolie in the agency. Okay, you are a coolie. I'm not going to kid you. And you are a coolie for a reason. And that reason is to teach all the foundations of account management. Okay, so a lot of people who come in and drop out at this stage. Why? Because cannot tahan being a coolie. Cannot tahan the late nights, cannot tahan the small amount of money. My parents don't understand why I work so late. If you all have parents who don't understand why you work so late, please don't join advertising. I'm serious. Because then for nothing, you will get into trouble at home, and then you get into trouble at work. So if you don't have parents who understand or encourage you to go out and seek a passion, please don't join advertising. You will fail. Okay? When you are an AE, you will do stupid things like competitive tear sheets. Who here knows what a competitive tear sheet is? Nobody, right? So I explain. So if she's working on a particular brand of snacks, then either daily or weekly, she will have to go through and monitor other brands of snacks. So she does one particular brand, which is Glico. But in the biscuit category, and I'm sure all of y'all have been to a supermarket, right? And you stand in front of the biscuit aisle, you'll see something like 35 brands. Okay? As an account management person, nobody expects you to memorize 35 brands, but you got to understand the shifts in that category. Okay? Shifts meaning who is doing a promotion this week? Does somebody have a commercial on air? Is so and so giving away a free gift with purchase? Do you know what I mean? Gift with purchase means buy one get one free, or buy one get Tupperware free. Those kinds of things. Alright? That's where you learn. Some of these things may sound really boring, but hey, depends on the category, depends on how exciting you make it. If you approach a market visit, and these things are called market visits, okay, and go stand in front of the supermarket, and your attitude towards what you're doing is, I can't believe I have to do this. Then you won't enjoy it lah. You won't enjoy it, and you're not going to learn anything. But if you go because I work on this particular brand, and whatever that brand is, and maybe you're about to launch a new campaign, maybe it's a new flavor, maybe it's blueberry, okay? And for your own knowledge, you want to go and see, are there actually other blueberry biscuits out there? What are they saying? What are they communicating? Do they use cartoon characters? Do they use vitamins A, B, and C? Because now today everything got vitamins, right? Including junk food. Yeah. So if your approach is that, and the approach I'm talking about is a learning approach. If you take the most mundane thing and tell yourself, I'm going to learn something from this, you will. You will. Because your mind is open and you're looking for information. Okay? And if you can learn how to master these kind of basic things as an account executive, you're going to make a brilliant account manager. And then you don't even have to do the steps. Steps are built in, and I'll be very honest with you. Steps are built in for safeguard measures. Because sometimes we may have a good account executive who we think has potential, but we're not sure. So after 2 years, want to make the person an account manager, maybe not lah. Maybe I don't think the person can deal with the stress. I don't think he's going to be a good account manager. So you know what? Let's try. We'll make the person a senior account executive. Is that a bad thing? No. Some people need to go through step by step by step by step, and they're sound. They grow up to be very, very sound account management people. No issues with that. So I'm not belittling it, but what I'm saying is, if you start on the right foot with the right mindset and you really love what you do, you can bypass all these nonsense half steps. Because in advertising, you are rewarded for performance. I think it's brilliant that all of y'all are in school and all of y'all are getting a basic education and all of y'all are coming out with degrees. Advertising is blind, and that I love telling people that because I truly believe in it. And it's blind because the minute you walk into that job, we really don't care where your degree is, what you did in school, and how wonderful you were. Those were probably some of the core reasons that got you hired. I don't care. I've got failed lawyers, I've got pre-med students, I've got actual lawyers. The guy who owns and runs Arachnid is a lawyer. And Weng Keong was one of the best copywriters in the industry, and I worked with him in JWT. And then he gave it all up to go and start, and he was the first to open a digital agency in this country, and it's one of the most successful digital agencies in this country. But where did he start from? He started in advertising. He was a writer. But he just believed so much in what he did and does, and you will see that. If whoever is attending tomorrow, you will see that tomorrow as well. You know, so first and foremost, advertising is blind. Don't care who you are, what you do, what background you come from. You come with the right mindset, you will thrive, and you will be very successful if you want it. Okay, all this just pushes you up. Every job has levels. But unlike a bank or a bigger government-linked company or one of those more corporate type roles, we don't have things like fixed, you know, like you have to work a certain number of years before you're considered for promotion. And then before you're considered for a promotion, please sit for an exam. And then you sit for an exam, we tell you how much money you get. Advertising doesn't work that way. Advertising rewards for performance, full stop. You go out of your way to be this superstar suit, okay? The term for account management is suits, okay? Some don't like being referred to as suits. They find it degrading. I have no idea why. You know, I refer to account management as suits. And back in the day, because account management used to wear suits, because they would be the suits in the agency, because they would be the dressed up one, and creative would be slake like anything, you know. Today, it doesn't make a difference lah. Today, everybody we're all very casual, especially in Malaysia, we're all very, very casual. So back to diligence. So there are boring things like competitive dash sheets. So like I said, you can approach it as in, oh God, I gotta cut all these ads out, or actually read what you're cutting. And if you read what you're cutting, do you know how much knowledge you're actually gaining from about the category and about your competitor? And imagine as an account executive, if you sit in for a client meeting and the client is talking about latest product, latest flavor, latest promotion, and you turn around and say, well, actually last weekend I was in a supermarket, or last weekend I was clearing my dash sheets, and I noticed this about the biscuit category. You know, I noticed that the best-selling flavors are orange. You know, 3 of the top brands seems to be doing an orange flavor. you're an AE and you have a point of view. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because traditionally, account executives are seen, not heard. Okay, you guys would be the ones making kopi in the room. And in case anybody is wondering, I still make coffee for clients if I am the only person in that room. I don't care that I am the boss of the agency. It is common courtesy and respect. If somebody comes to your house, you will make them a drink, right? Account management is about intuition. It is about understanding the other person in front of you. It is about reading body language, which is great, and I love it. And that's why I can sit quietly in a cafe by myself and watch the world go by. And I can watch two people and I will start imagining what is the relationship they have. Are they father-daughter? Are they boyfriend-girlfriend? Do they even like each other? Do they even talk to each other? And if you're in account management and you care enough about people, you will learn so much. Because when you're sitting in a room, whether with senior people in your agency, regardless of departments, or sitting in a room with clients, you can pick up which client is angry, and as you get older, you can figure out why, or you can pick out which client is listening, which client is not listening, and then natural intuition. Like for example, when we're in a presentation and we know there's one client which they do, by the way, clients can be very rude. You know what I do? I'll go right in front of that person and I'll talk to him. You think he's going to fall asleep again after that? No, lor. But first and foremost, you must care enough to look around the room. And what I'm telling y'all, it doesn't really matter what level you're at. What I'm telling y'all is actually after years of experience and realizing these things, I wish I knew more of this when I was younger. Because these kinds of things, nobody will teach you. Nobody will teach you. Because don't forget, account executives are to be seen, not heard. So in some agencies, you will be given an opportunity where we really don't care what level you're at. If you're there, you have a contribution, please contribute. Many agencies do treat account executives as that. You just please go do the competitive test sheets and the market, whatever, and just do it. Again, two ways of looking at it. When your immediate supervisor is talking to you like that, you can decide, so rude, why should I do anything the person asks me to? He didn't ask me nicely. Or, okay lah, just do what I need to do because I'm learning. I'll tell you today more and more, it's the former. The attitude is, I don't want to do it. Why? Because you didn't ask me nicely. I'm like, really? Do I look like your mother? No, lor. But we get. And it's these kind of attitudes that's not going to survive. Because if I've had a particularly bad day with a client, or even with my own team, or if he's stressing me out on a particular day, and then if I encounter a junior person and I ask them for something and they turn and give me attitude, do you think I'm going to be very receptive to that attitude? Absolutely not. And my reaction would be probably to go and yell at him and like, what kind of people are you hiring? 2 weeks ago, I did a meeting with account management, in my account management, the mainstream side. Because BBDO has two sides. There's BBDO, which is the mainstream agency. Mainstream means all your traditional media. Okay, your TV, your print, your billboard, your out of home, your ambient, your blah, 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 blah. All the stuff that we used to do all those years ago and all the stuff we continue to do, today is termed mainstream or offline. Why? Because they're digital agencies and we have a digital agency. Our digital agency is called Proximity. So anything that you do in the digital landscape is called online, right? And you look at the digital side of things today and it's changed. It has changed and it's continuing to change advertising as we know it. If you guys actually move or join account management and are not interested in the industry and what's happening in the shifts, or if you're not interested in the category that you're working on, and categories are varied. Categories can be things like snacks. Categories can be things like soft drinks. So the war between Pepsi and Coca-Cola, These are all legends in advertising in terms of the stories, you know. And if you're not in, and I'm not telling you this because I want you to go tonight and, oh, I better go and learn all this. No need, no need. What I'm saying is, when you are right there and you are experiencing something, find out why. More and more today, account management people don't ask that simple, basic question, why? Which I find remarkably amazing, because at your level, and if you're wanting to learn, and if, let's say your boss turns and says, do a job rec and get this out, and you do the job rec and get this out, aren't you curious? Why? Like, shouldn't your first question to your immediate supervisor be, oh, why is this important? Okay, so why are we doing this? Are we doing this because of this? Don't ask why and then wait for answer. So you all must learn how to hypothesize, if nothing else. Bullshit something else. You know, I mean, if any information that comes to you, you immediately will have a point of view or a perception. Correct? Takkan people talk to you or say something to you and you are blank. No, right? That never happens, correct? Same thing in a work environment. If your boss asks you to do something, you should ask why. You're not asking the why because it's not my job. You're asking the why, oh, can I understand why this is important? You know, why do we need to do this? Or why is this important for the campaign that we're working on? If you ask a basic fundamental question, you'll be amazed at the answers and the knowledge that comes back to you. Anybody who works for BBDO, and if anybody's going to interact with me, and if I ask them a question, I don't get an answer, and especially if the answer is, I don't know, finish. I will lose my temper on the spot. Because I'm like, how can you not know? And then my next question to them would always be, and if you don't know, you don't want to find out? Or you're just happy, I don't know? Dialogue like that, you always remain an AE. And there are people who will be AEs for 5 years. Traditionally, as an account executive, you should, provided you're in a good agency with the right people, traditionally, you shouldn't be an AE longer than 2 years. Anything more than 2 years, there's something wrong with you. And then you need to ask yourself that hard question. What am I not learning? What am I not doing? Why am I not progressing? Ask. What is the worst that can happen? You find out the answer. Don't you want to move? Don't you want to progress? Don't you want to do other things? If you stay in a role for the money, after a while, you're going to outprice yourself in the industry. So if you're an AE, and you're happy being an AE, and every year you get 500 more, 1,000 more, I don't know, whatever it may be, right? So imagine if you stay an AE for 5 years. Let's say you start at 2,000, and every year you get 500. 5 years later, you're earning 4,500, but you're still an AE. And then you decide, oh, now I want to go for interview. First question I'm going to ask is, why the hell were you an AE for 5 years? That would be my first question. Second question is, I can't hire you as an AE, and I don't think you have the skills as an AM. And you've outpriced yourself. Then what do? So then what is going to happen, that person who is a 5-year AE is going to end up taking a job as an account manager in order to justify the salary. That person will end up taking a job as an account manager, but will not have the skills for it. And after 6 months, will probably crash and burn. So be very mindful. Know what you're getting in for. Where you go, how fast you go, how much money you make is entirely in your hands. And if you're in an agency and blaming the agency management, oh, they don't recognize me. Oh, I don't get enough money. Oh, drama. But you're still there. One, you must ask. What am I doing? What am I not doing? Is there something I could be doing? Am I doing something wrong? Should I be changing something? Obviously, you're doing something right because you haven't been fired. Then why aren't you good enough to move to the next level? I get the greatest joy when I am able today to spend a lot of time with account management is to see people drop the halves. You know, from AE, go to AM. Why is an SAE title so important? That's the other thing about your generation. Titles hella important. You think what? Getting here in 5 years is going to make you respected? No. Because firstly, you'll never get here in 5 years. Unless you start up your own company and call yourself CEO. And that one 5 months also can. You know. But if you jump, and I'll tell you this, in Malaysia, our ad industry is shrinking. So it is very easy for you all to find jobs. It is very easy for you all to earn a lot of money very, very quickly. But you're compromising your foundation because you will jump. You will be an AE somewhere for a year. Let's say you're earning 2.5 wherever. When you leave in a year, you go to the next agency, you will earn 3.5. And let's say you go as account manager. You do that for 1 year, then you leave and you go to another agency as, let's say, SAM. You take a half role because they're giving you 4,005. Okay? So in 2 years, you've gone from 2,000 to 4,005. Right? Then as a SAM, 6 months later, you leave, you go AAD, you earn $6,000. Okay? So which means by 7 years, 7 years in the industry, you can go from 2 to 10, no problem. No problem. And I know a lot of people who do it. But they're crap. And they make the worst account management people. They can't think, they can't write, they can't present. All they can do is run. Why? Because they're still operating at an AE level. You tell them, you sit down with them, you give them a checklist, A to Z. Okay, I need you to do this. No problem, can do beautifully. 1 week later, you ask them to do a similar list, cannot. They can't even think for themselves in terms of prioritizing their day. But got title, got money. Brains, zero. Brains, when I say brains in this context, I'm talking about account management brains, zero. And that's why it gets harder and harder to hire. Because you interview them and you're like, really? What are you again? You earn how much money again? For that? No, thank you. What I try to consciously practice is, regardless of how desperate I am, to not just hire. Because sometimes you are very desperate. Suddenly you need to fill 3 roles, and where are you going to find these 3 people? So the first 3 that comes along, you like, hire lah, namai, we worry about it later, we hire first. I've always lived to regret those decisions, always. Because after 6 months, I know they're not going to work. And it's more expensive to fire and rehire than to wait a little longer and find the right person and invest behind training that person. So I've learned that the hard way. Today, if I'm desperate, I try to find freelancers. You know, or if we're unsure, I'll tell him, I say, John, just why don't you bring the person in for about 3 months? Let's gauge the person first. And then if we think it's going to work out for both parties, then we convert them to a full-time hire. So an account executive is a coolie. That's right. Okay. So then from being a coolie, I'm going to ignore the half titles here. So from being a coolie, you go to becoming head coolie. Okay? Because as an AM, you should at least have 1 coolie reporting to you lah. At least 1, if you're lucky. Sometimes don't have. Sometimes from AE, you become AM, but you still don't have your own AE. But eventually, in time, you will. Okay? So traditionally, from coolie, you become head coolie. So as head coolie, the biggest thing, and here again, interesting enough, you may be super terror AE. You become AM, you fail. I'll tell you why. Don't know how to delegate. Everybody thinks, oh, Tai Chi, woo, got somebody else to do the work, I Tai Chi. Let me tell you, Tai Chi to somebody else is a responsibility. And if you don't know how to delegate efficiently, it will come back and bite you in the ass. For 2 reasons. One, if you don't work with your immediate downliner in a manner that allows you to teach, because now you have to teach that person, right? So if you don't teach the person reporting to you, and if you are not clear in your expectations of the person that's reporting to you, that person will fail. When that person fails, you fail. Then learn, I don't know about anybody else, but my style is, if an AE screws up, I don't scold the AE. I scold the AE's boss. Whatever the title is, AM lah, AD lah, whoever. But okay, not just AEs. Whoever screws up, very rarely do I scold the person screwing up. I will always scream at that person's boss first. And then I scream at that person. Now, of course, have to. But the person's boss gets yelled at first. Why? Your responsibility. Like tomorrow, if he goes out and he does a presentation, the clients are pissed off with him, who do you think they're going to call? They'll call me. And with account management, the buck stops with you, regardless of which level you're at. I started by telling you account management is the nervous system of an ad agency. Which means that anything that happens within that nervous system is your responsibility. Whether you think so or you don't think so, or whether actually somebody else screwed up, to the client, it is your responsibility. And you need to learn how to take on that responsibility. Because if every time something screws up and your reaction to that screw up is, oh, that person did it, I didn't do, I did everything I had to do, that person did it, you will fail. You will fail. Why? Number one, no accountability. Number two, no teamwork. How? And then can you imagine if you have an AE reporting to you, assuming you're like AMs already, and then you have an AE reporting to you, and something screws up, and the first thing you do is to point to the AE. I told you right, I told you right. You think the AE is going to work for you after that? No way. Do you think that AE is going to trust you after that? No way. When somebody screws up, your reaction should be, okay, what happened? It's alright, let's fix it. Let's find a solution. You always find a solution first, and then go and figure out what the hell happened to begin with. But in figuring out what happened to begin with, teach the person. You don't yell, you don't scream. You can yell and scream in the moment when it's happening, that's fine. Ad agencies allow for it. I yell and scream all the time. Get it out of your system, move on. Learn from it. I've got AEs coming into my room sometimes crying. Okay, if you're a crier, don't join advertising. I really don't know how to help you all. Every time I talk to you all, you all cry. How? Okay, don't need to be so emotional. It's work, it's work. You know? And usually when I deal with AEs who have made mistakes, first time, I let them cry, I let them panic a bit. And then I always tell them, remember how you feel right now, and don't ever repeat this mistake. 8 out of 10 times they never do. But what they get out of that is, oh my God, I didn't get fired. Like, oh, she understands. It's like, oh, it's okay, I'm not going to get killed and crucified just because I screwed up. We're all humans now. I screw up, I still screw up. You know, and that's why I say it's all interconnected. You must like people. You must like to study them. You must be intuitive. You must have some kind of emotional intelligence. You're not a robot, please. Account management are not robots. Account management are not post boxes. I think the most derogatory term I can hear for account management from anybody, whether it's internal or external, is to refer to a suit as a post box. I lose it. When someone refers to a suit as a post box, it means that person is just taking instruction, go do instruction. So client, I'm a client, pretend I'm a client, you're the account manager. I give you the brief, you take the brief, you go give creative. Creative give you the work, you take the work, you go back give the client. At no point have you interacted with anybody. You just push paper, push paper. If you all ever become suits like that, don't look at me for a job, okay? Because I'll never hire you. And that's the honest truth. If you're the sort of person who takes the brief and questions the brief, okay, so I see what you're trying to do. Okay, you say you want to reach this objective. Where are you now? You know, is that a real objective? Can you actually achieve, I don't know, 8 share points in 6 months? And you know, and you will meet very different people. Again, I'm not going to get into the ABCs of a client because there are very different people. You will meet wonderful clients, you will meet the worst of clients, you'll meet clients that you want to kill, you will meet clients that will become your lifelong friend. I have clients, I have friends today who started as my clients. And today they're among some of my closest friends. That's rare and few, but it can happen. And you know, honestly, in account management, you don't need to be loved. You need to be respected. Okay? Respect before love, honestly. Because you may not be the nicest person to a creative person, but you are smart and you know what you're doing. So they may hate you, but they respect you. For me, that's good enough, man. Account management is not PR. Account management is not a popularity game. At the end of the day, I evaluate you based on your job performance. I evaluate you based on your output. Output not just in terms of work. Of course, work is part and parcel of that, because account management is equally responsible for the work as creative is. And if you think you are not, it means you are in a postman role. So go rethink your role. Okay? But a really, really, really good suit knows that they're equally responsible for the work. Because why? Fundamental. Garbage in, garbage out. And what is the first piece of garbage to go into creative? If you write a rubbish brief, you will get rubbish work. So again, a really good suit understands that if they write a really compelling brief, a brief that inspires, a brief that excites, then the work that comes out is inspiring and exciting. Can you change the world? No. Can you make the world a better place? Not with advertising. Can you play with the psyches of a consumer? Yes. Can you steer the direction of a brand? Yes. Can you make a difference in a client's marketing plan? Yes. Can you make a difference to the agency's money because of the things that you are saying and doing with a client? Yes. And again, if you can do all of that, and at some point, assume, it's very hard for me today because none of y'all stayed that long, but back in the day, we stayed on businesses that we worked on for a long time. And if you're working on a brand for, let's say, 5 years, say you started as an account manager, and in that 5 years, you progressed and you became an account director. You have 5 years worth of knowledge in a specific category, and you have grown up on that piece of business. As an account director with 5 years of brand experience, if you went to the client with a social responsibility idea, an initiative that could change the world, do you think the client will listen to you? Yes. Why? He respects you. But if you're a yaya and you jump every 6 months, you have no understanding of anything, no foundation, no knowledge, you can pretty much write a job rec, send a job rec in, take the work back. Will you ever write something or do something or initiate something that's going to change the world? No. So ask yourself this after today, you know. First and foremost, do you all even care about brands? Do you care? Are you curious enough? So if in account management, you don't like having conversations, you don't like finding out when your client's birthday is, how many children they have, you know, how old the kids are, what their names are, you will never grow up in this industry. Because again, it's not about anything else other than you're showing basic common courtesy to another human being. And by showing basic common courtesy to another human being, you are showing them respect. Simple. Of course, there are people you'll meet and you'll hate. Like, no need to ask 2 questions. You see their face only, you want to slap. Happens. It happens. Now, the challenge is, do you give in to that? And I hate the person, I hate the person, I hate the person. Or, I hate the person so much, I'm going to make the bugger my friend. So if you have that passion and that fire of always wanting to challenge the status quo, of always wanting to do things differently, of always wanting to find out why things happen the way they do. A very simple demonstration was my asking you all about your phones. It's simple. think I really care what phone you use? No. But by asking you all those kind of questions, I can quite analyze behavior pattern, what you aspire to have, who your group of friends are. And let me tell you, knowledge is king. Knowledge is king. And that is why a great suit knows their creative work. What I see today is that suits, and including ours, not just anybody, but all suits, don't know the latest commercials, don't know the latest award-winning work, don't watch, don't listen, don't view, don't download. Y'all are on YouTube. They all actually go to YouTube and search Cannes 2012. You guys are not postmans. You don't just have to do as you're told. And if anybody tells you that, you should turn and ask them why. Even my 4-year-old questions me more than that, man. Be naturally curious. When somebody asks you to do something, ask why. If you're not curious, you're not going to learn. Okay, who actually wants to know all this? How long you need to be in which role? Roughly lah, depending on your caliber lah. How much money you can make. Okay, so an AE typically starts between 2.2 and 2.5. Alright? And then I don't know, and then it's dependent on agencies. Some will give you more money upon confirmation, many won't. Okay, so you work for 1 year before you might get an increment. It is agency to agency specific. Alright? Traditionally, AE 2 years. After that, you move on. Move on can be SAE, can be AM. Okay? When you move on, you should go from about, let's say you started at 2.5 lah. Okay? Assuming you started at 2.5 and you were an AE for 2 years and then you move up to become an AM, you should be getting at about 3.2. Anywhere from 3.2 to 3.5. Again, depends on budgets, depends on your performance, depends on what you're working on, blah, 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 blah. Okay? You should get about 3.5. Starting, I'm just giving all ranges, okay? As an AM, about 3.5. As a SAM, depending on how long you've had as an AM, let's say assume 2 years, okay? So let's say you've been an AM for 2 years and then you become an SAM, you can get, starting as a SAM, anywhere from 5 to 6. By the time you're an AED, you're probably getting about 8. By the time you become an AD, you're getting about 10. By the time you are, I'm going to ignore all this. By the time you're a GAD, you're probably starting at about 12. Okay? And I'm giving you starting. If you're a 3-year-old GAD, you're probably earning anywhere from 15 to 18. Okay? 3 years with experience lah, huh? Start today's inflation rates and salary scale and all that. Starting GAD is about 12,000. Okay? By the time you hit CSD, again, depend on how long you've been a GAD, depends on how much experience you have, but a CSD would be between 18,000 to 20,000. Okay? From CSD onwards, it is actually open book. It is an open book. Because somebody can stay a CSD for 5 years and earn a hell of a lot of money in that CSD position. So like the boss on top of all these people. Okay, so from I gave you a starting for a CSD. After that, because depends on how long you stay, depends on how big the agency is, depends on what your direct contribution, you can earn extra money if the person helps on new biz. You know, so from here onwards, I'm not kidding you, because like I said at the beginning, account management is performance based. There is no exam, there is no, you sit for this and you get 2% increment, tak ada. You can literally go from 18,000 to 25,000, from 25,000 to 30, from 30 to 40. But back in the day, the old days, not current days, but back in the day, a CEO of an agency would probably earn something like 70,000 a month. But those were those days lah. These days the gap is closer, it's not so wide. But you can earn a shitload of money. I'm not kidding you. Advertising is the one industry where you can earn a lot of money for what I say is nothing. Because we're a bit narcissistic that way. We love what we do and we get off on it, but are we saving hungry, starving children? No. You know? But do we love what we do? Yeah, love. Get a lot of money also. You know, and seriously, and again, imagine if you stay in account management, go through all this, let's say like, okay, so typically let's say AE, AM, let's say 2, 4, it takes about 10 years. It should. I know people who've done it in shorter. They're either the useless ones or they're the super geniuses. I have had super geniuses who've started with me as AE and then become regional group account director in under 10 years. And they are mavericks. Okay? But typically AE to JAD about 10 years. Okay? So let's say you start at 22 earning 2005. By the time you're 32, you will be earning between 10 and 12. By the time you are 42, you will be earning about 25 to 30. By the time you retire, you'll have a very healthy bank account now. Your EPF contribution also is wonderful. So you can earn a lot of money. But earn it properly lah. Like I said, don't be one of those monkeys who every 6 months jump. I work for what I have. So then to meet somebody who jump, you know, it's annoying. And that's what's causing this industry to die. When you churn out idiots who don't inspire, you think the people working under them want to stay in advertising? So that's account management. But that's one department in advertising. Then there's media, but media is no longer part of a creative agency. Media are now independent agencies of their own. But I'll tell you, a lot of account management people, as they grow up, many of them today are moving to media companies, not to go become a media planner, but they become like an account management person in a media company. In my days growing up, no such thing. They were all media planners, all crunch number, draw up media plans. But today, most media companies have account management people who front face the client. So the same thing in a creative agency, but you do in a media agency. And I'll tell you, that's not a bad thing either, because you learn a completely different aspect of advertising. Media is very much part and parcel of advertising. And more today, media companies have bigger, wider control over clients, their decisions and their budgets. You know? So as a servicing person, servicing as a suit in a media company, then you would be the one to influence the client in terms of where to spend or where to invest. You can influence the client in terms of creative communication, so creative media buys. You know, like you're doing a little play or a TV show, right? So as a suit for a media company, for example, for a TV show, you can go to a client. Let's take BlackBerry. You can go and influence the client to say, okay, you know what? There's this great program on air, and it's about young 20-somethings and how they're living their lives, and you see them through the lens of a camera. Now, I think we can get a great opportunity if we can get them to all use BBs on the show. You know, so every time there's a shot of somebody messaging, or I want to meet me here, meet me around the corner at 6, it's a BB. So as a suit in a media company, of course suits in a creative agency also can do that lah. Clients will actually listen to you, provided they respect you. But in a media company, because you are encouraging the client to invest or spend or support something, you are able to influence that. Will you earn the same kind of money? Yeah, pretty much about the same. Because like I said, most of them come from creative agencies and then they move to media agencies. You know? So your fundamentals are different. Of course, in a media agency, you don't necessarily need to do competitive dash sheets. Yeah. Sometimes you still have to, sometimes you don't. Lesser lah. But it's interesting. You know, are you still within the creative arena? I actually believe so, because I believe they have a very strong influence. Because a media agency, like I said, you help the client invest, spend, support. A creative agency shapes the brand. And for me, I get my kicks out of that. Imagine a client comes to you whether it's a brand new client or whether it's an existing client with a brand new product, right? I have this great product. I don't know what to call it. I don't know how to position it. I don't even know who to sell it to. That's such a turn on. I get really excited when I get briefs like that. Because whatever you decide becomes this brand, becomes this thing, becomes this product that's going to be in people's hands, mouth, wherever. I don't know what the product is. You know? Or corporate brands. Imagine if a bank comes to you, whether it's an existing bank, or let's say tomorrow all the banks consolidate and you get 5 new names. And all 5 are fighting for the same share of wallet. Can you imagine how exciting that is? They'll probably have an idea of a name, but you get to create that name. You get to create that logo. Every time you walk past that logo that you see up there, you did it. You had a hand in it. You get to decide whether it's pink, green, or purple. How powerful is that, guys? You're shaping the destiny of a brand. And that's why I get very annoyed. And you know, like I said, it's a turn on. But I get annoyed because we get caught with the details. And in account management, it's very, very easy to do that. You forget the bigger picture. Because everything is, oh, I got a deadline, oh, I got 5 job recs, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to update WIP. Y'all forget why y'all are there. Yeah, you need to update your WIP. I don't care if you do it at midnight or 2 a.m. That's your responsibility. Yes, you need to know what's happening out there in the world with your competitors, because if not, what the hell are you going to be talking about to your clients? Or how will you know how well your brand is doing? But every time y'all get melodramatic, stop and ask yourselves, what the hell y'all are y'all complaining about? Y'all don't have enough time? Get off the fucking Facebook for 3 hours. Like, seriously. The biggest reason younger ones today drop out of advertising is because I don't want to work this hard. I don't want to work so many hours. My mother don't want me to work so late. Learn how to time manage. If you walk into the office at 9:30 every morning and spend the next 20 minutes writing your to-do list and then checking off your to-do list as you go, I promise you, you can leave the office. Latest also 7 o'clock, sure can leave. Sure can leave. I've done this in my agency because every now and then everybody forgets why they do what they do, right? So all the melodrama, I'm working late, I don't have time to have dinner with my family, I never watch any movies. You know, y'all are laughing, huh? I have to deal with this drama every day, okay? And this is very, very real drama. And what I do is, or what I did and what I had a chat with, I may have to do it again. But for 1 week, I made everybody come in by 9:30. Every morning, 9:30, your ass better be on that chair. And at 7 o'clock every evening, I will stand in the middle of account management and I'm packed. I've shut down, I'm packed, my bags are with me, and I scream at them to shut down. Everybody shut down. 7 o'clock, shut down. I don't care if you're in the middle of writing a job, right? I don't care if you're in the tengah telephone. Just thank you very much, goodbye, I'll call you tomorrow. Everything shuts at 7. Every morning when they came back, the next morning, they had to write me a list. What did they get out of it? That means what did they enjoy from leaving the office at 7 o'clock? What did they miss by leaving the office at 7 o'clock? Let me tell you, what they missed was empty. Okay? Nobody missed anything. So what did that prove? Whatever you're doing at 7 o'clock at night, you can do at 9 a.m. in the morning and nobody's going to die from it. We do advertising, guys. It's magic. It's not rocket science and you're not going to kill anybody. Like, seriously. Right? But what they gained, I had dinner with my family for the first time in 6 months. I managed to watch that movie that I always wanted to watch. I got to speak to my best friend whom I haven't spoken to in 3 weeks. And if you notice, there were all the small little pleasures in life. It wasn't anything massively big. It wasn't like in one night they went and climbed the moon or conquered the world. No, it was the small things that they were missing. But I'll tell you this, if you don't learn to prioritize, and if all you do is work, it is the small things that will kill you. Because if you work 6 months straight and don't see your parents or have dinner with your parents, and then every night your parents call you coming home for dinner. Son, mommy made soup, you coming home for dinner or not? And you keep saying no. By month number 6, you're going to hate yourself. And there's really no reason for it. Yes, you need to do the time, guys. I'm not lying to you. I'm not kidding to you. There's a certain amount of time that you need to put in. If you're in an agency and there's a pitch, of course, if your immediate bosses need your help, there are days where you won't go home. You might have to stay in the office for 2 nights, back to back, because whatever lah, you got to output things, you got to print things, buying things, whatever it is. Will it happen? Yes, it will happen. Does it happen every day? No. Does it even happen once a month in today's days and times? No. Not really. So the reason y'all are working late every day non-stop is because y'all are not time managing. And no one is going to disrespect you if you tell somebody, I need to go home at 6 o'clock. Okay, because everybody needs a life. So when you start in advertising, it's very important that you start on the right foot. I started by telling you, the joy comes after the blood, sweat and tears. Without the blood, sweat and tears, there is no joy. Full stop. You got to do your time, and you got to do it well. Cool? Thank you, guys.